I'm back, but on the main menu this time instead of the actual chapter menu. That's because there's something I want to show. I actually kind of wanted to show this in the previous chapter, but I sort of forgot. Anyway, this file, actually I used it specifically because I want to show off some of these Wi-Fi bonuses. From DLC, through Wi-Fi, these are all free by the way, you were able to obtain 3 items. The Growth Drop, the Bomb Drop, I believe, and the Rainbow Potion. I'll be showing the other 2 later, but basically I'll just say this. You can assign, once you've got these items, you can assign these items to as many files as you want, but only once per file. The Growth Drop, well, you'll see what that does in a little while, but it should be obvious. Now, we're on to Chapter 16. Oh, don't worry about the other 2 items, by the way. I'll be showing them off later. We're on to Chapter 16, Retake the Capital, and weirdly enough, this was in fact the title of a chapter back in Sword of Seals. In that chapter, you were retaking Utoria. Hopefully there won't be a really annoying enemy general you'll have to avoid killing. Yeah, that was annoying. Ugh. Now that girl mentioned there is presumably Sheeta, mostly because it can't be Mary Sue, because that line of dialogue was actually in the original Mystery of the Emblem Unaltered, so presumably the girl is Sheeta, though that line probably doesn't change even if Sheeta is dead at this point, which is kind of weird. Anyway, now this bit is really weird. This bit was incredibly strange. What? What, but seriously? She's like level 5 promoted now. What? Okay, I can only think of one explanation for this. This conversation presumably relates to your My Unit's level. Now, my only explanation for what just happened is that he only takes into account your actual physical level and not whether you're promoted or not. So I'm guessing level 5 promoted is treated the same as level 5 unpromoted, so you get the bad rating. Yeah, so to get the best, you're actually going to be unpromoted at level 20, presumably, and, oh, Gordon's bow, nice. And that is pretty weird. So what, it encourages you to be unpromoted, which is kind of annoying because for a certain event, you kind of want Mary Sue to be promoted and at least... isn't that pointless? We already got to A with you. Yeah. Anyway. Now look at this here. This map might be familiar to players with Shadow Dragon. That probably will be a surprise. Yes, look at that item in this thief's inventory, the Geosphere. You want this, trust me. You also might notice that this thief actually has a stat above 20. In normal mode, you don't see stats like that until the very last chapter, so... Yeah, we'll also see a bunch of heroes over here, some with axes, silver swords, and a couple of snipers, thieves, more heroes, and yep! After hounding us for 3 straight chapters, Astram is back. This time he's not chasing us, we'll be the ones coming to him. And this time we can finally recruit him. Whew. Yes, finally. But in order to recruit him, we're going to need the aid of, funnily enough, another crappy pre-promote. Yeah, so in this case, this conversation only plays if George is still alive. Now, he's talking about Astram. Apparently, yeah, he's known him for a while. There was apparently a rumor that George and Astram were brothers. I guess they kind of have similar hair, but no, they're not related. They're just really close friends. But, anyway. So basically, yeah, he's now on castle defense duty instead of chasing you through the desert duty. That was annoying. But yeah, he says to leave it to George, so unfortunately we're going to have to bring George to this chapter, which means we're going to have to kick out someone. This is annoying. Really annoying. Because George, by this point, untrained, he kind of sucks. I mean, even trained, he probably kind of sucks, but... Yeah, I also do not want to waste uses of the path here, so I'll have to give him a weaker weapon, I guess. Anyway, he's talking about up his way again. Like, hey, remember when we took on 3 whole chapters worth of dragons? That was fun. Now we're stuck with stupid human enemies who don't give much experience. But anyway, we've got a couple of third level supports. These are some of the last we'll be seeing, so from this point on, there won't be many supports at all. So this one is Bast's final one. So yeah, he apparently has a really long life story, and he's done an awful lot of jobs over the course of the series. So yeah. And of course they have that. Well, of course he'll change the world, he's the main character. Yeah, that is... So finally he mentions Cord and Board. Yeah, Cord and Board, I believe, do have supports with each other. I've forgotten... Well, I've not forgotten, I never actually saw them, so I don't know exactly just what they're like, but, yeah. Apparently they've been in the mercenary business for so long, I don't know how to live when it's peaceful. Interesting. But wait a minute though, didn't the epilogue of Shadow Dragon say they were carpenters? That they became carpenters? Isn't that a way to live when it's peaceful? I only just realised that, by the way, that's kind of weird. Unless they're forgetting that, I don't know, it's weird, because the, some of the epilogues of Shadow Dragon, a lot of them set up this game, as some of them don't really make sense in the context of this game, but still. Yeah, and apparently he wants to have a big talk with them himself, so unfortunately we don't actually get to see that. I'm not sure if he has support with them. I know that Board and Cord have supports with each other, so, yeah. Now, if I find some way to only record the top screen, I might actually try showing off just about as many supports of this game as I can do. How will I be able to do that without repeatedly grinding on playthroughs? Well, you'll see. You'll see. Anyway, this is Feeder and my unit's third conversation. And this one's kind of interesting, too. Now, again, this one is radically different whether you're male or female. So, I'll let you see this one, and then I'll talk about the male version afterwards. You know, it would be interesting if my unit got Dancer as a reclass option. That would be pretty nice. But of course, Dancers can't actually reclass, so that's sort of weird. You know, there was back in FE5, there was a character who could promote to Dancer, and then promote again out of Dancer, but most people didn't do that, because then you'd lose your only Dancer, and that's kind of weird. Not weird, just annoying. And, the shoe is on the other foot, as it were. Sorry. This is a funny conversation. Well, at least having two dancers might be an interesting idea. And troll. Yes, my unit was just trolling them. Yep, remember back then when they were asked to tease them back? Yep. Counter trolling. Now, okay, how this goes with male my unit is very different. Instead of the whole dancer clothes thing, male my unit instead pretends to confess their love to them. It's accompanied by a rendition of the love theme too, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that one's very different. Anyway, you have Fina and Narvol's third support conversation anyway, and this sheds a bit of light into their characters as well. So yeah, apparently he's just... Yeah, so he's like basically just the cold-hearted mercenary guy who just, you know, doesn't want to develop unnecessary emotions. But Fina wants to change that. Although his supports with my unit have indicated that he does actually kind of have emotions deep down. But anyway, there was, that's an interesting reaction. And yeah, even she remembers that, so, yeah, she's using it to her advantage here. He doesn't want any unwanted stalkers, of course, but... Now this bit is kind of interesting. Quote, unnecessary, unquote, feelings? Does that imply shipping, perhaps? You know, well, ever since the original Mystery of the Emblem, I always actually supported them as a pairing, so, maybe? I don't know. Of course, that doesn't affect endings in any way, so, because there are no paired endings, but, I mean, I like to think that maybe there is some slight shipping there, I don't know. Interpret that how you will. I always kind of supported them, but anyway. Right then, let's see, elixirs, stat potions, a whole bunch of bombs. I need to use those eventually. There we go, growth drop. Okay, let me show you what the growth drop does. It says it boosts growth rates when used. That's not really all that big of a description. At least it's better than Alpha's drops description back in FP7. But anyway, the growth drop works pretty much the same way as Alpha's drops, Mecha's tome, those items in the GBA games. Basically, when you use it on a character, it boosts their HP growth by 20 and all other growths by 10. Which is actually a pretty big improvement. You can only give it to one person per playthrough, but you can actually, once you've downloaded it from Wi-Fi, you can give the item to as many files as you want. So essentially all your future files will benefit from it. You can actually put it on a file starting as early as Chapter 1. I believe, yes, the file has to be up to at least Chapter 1 before you can actually give it those items. But you can use it as early as then, and it's probably a good idea to do that, actually, because it increases growth rates. The earlier you use it, the more benefit you'll get from it. So, yeah, I'm not using it until quite late, though, but at least I want to give it to my unit when they're promoted. Now, the reason I'm giving it to Mary Sue, you might think, oh, she's broken enough as it is. Well, that is true. The reason I'm giving it to them is because if I gave it to any of my other characters, it would kind of throw off their final stats. Their final stats would look a bit better than their actual averages, and I want to just show you everyone on their own merits. So basically, if I gave someone the growth drop, my rationale for that is they'll end up with better stats than you could normally expect from them in an average playthrough. And again, I want to show off everyone on their own merits. So, well, actually, really, I should have used on Elwyn, though, because he probably needs it the most, given how much he's been getting screwed. But, actually, I really probably should have. But anyway, again, I want to show everyone on their own merits. Plus, at the very end of the playthrough, I plan to show the stats of all my characters and check whether they're better or worse than average in everything. And of course, that's going to be completely thrown out the window if I use the growth drop, because they'll have better growth than they do normally, so their average can be completely different. Speaking of the growth drop, those additions to your growth rates are actually taken into account when determining your growth total for the purposes of fixed stat ups in the drill grounds. So basically, if you want to use anyone in the drill grounds, giving them the growth drop will actually increase their total growth rates by an overall value of, I know it's greater than 100, which means an extra guaranteed stat up in the drill grounds. So that's also pretty useful. So yeah, so if you want to use someone in the drill grounds, that item is probably a good choice. I generally tend to mostly use that on either Marth or my unit, I don't know, unless my unit was already getting broken as it is. But really, it can go to anyone you want to be ridiculously powerful. I mean, Sirius could go pretty insane with that. And even be on par with Luke and Rhodey, maybe, if you use that. But anyway, it's actually probably a more significant boost than Alpha's drops or Mecha's tome was. Now, I had to go down here and find Julian, because I'm going to need Julian because there are chests in this chapter, and I am not particularly fond of having Marth trek halfway across the map and back again, so I'm going to bring Julian this time. Now, I'll have a door key just in case I need to. Now, secondly, I need to kick someone out to bring George. At one point I was considering kicking out Sheeta, but then I realised her fiancé is liberating his homeland. This is the kingdom they're going to rule together eventually. She really should be here, so I didn't want to kick her out. I believe, yeah, I had to kick out Ryan, actually. and Sirius, sadly. But anyway, Ryan was on getting pretty leveled up as it is, and now I don't have to worry about him getting speed screwed. Maybe if I leave him out for a chapter, his RNG will start to cooperate. Anyway, we should be stupid unlock stuff. I think I should get rid of that actually, because unless he somehow gets to a C during this chapter, it's not going to be much use. And of course, when he does get to a C, then he'll be able to use physics staves, which is really awesome. And I decided to give Sheeta the Star Sphere this time. Also, a random fact about the Star Sphere. In the original game, the Star Sphere was blue, the same colour as the Earth Sphere. I mean, Geosphere, well, whatever. The Geosphere is now green, and the Star Sphere is now green, and the Geosphere is now blue. The Light Sphere is still the same colour as it used to be, and all the other spheres are still the same colour. I don't know why I said that, it's just kind of weird they changed those colours around, but kind of funny. Anyway, I'm putting my flyers back because they're going to need to catch this thief. Catching this thief is of the highest priority. I'm just going to do a bit of drill grounds with my characters who didn't get a chance to level up much in the last chapter. But let me just explain this. We've got all the Star Sphere shards by now, and with that we're well on the way to getting the true ending. But it's still possible to miss out on it at this point. To get the true ending, you need all five spheres. We currently have two. The Light Sphere, which you'll always get no matter what. The game would be impossible if you didn't get it, actually. And the Star Sphere, which we get for finding all the shards. There are three more spheres. The Geosphere, the Life Sphere, and the Dark Sphere. We know where the Dark Sphere is, that won't be coming until quite a bit later. But the Geosphere is in this very chapter, and we need to get it as soon as we can. The Life Sphere, well, we don't know where that one is yet, but we'll be seeing it later, trust me. So, anyway, the Geosphere is in this chapter, and we are going to need it, because if you miss out on it, no good ending for you. I mean, that aside, the Geosphere is a very, very nice item to have, too, because, I'll tell you more about it when we actually get it, but its passive effect is really, really amazing. So you want to be making as much use of it as possible, and on now you crit. Anyway, you want to be making as best use of the Geosphere as you can once you get it, because its passive effect, very, very good. Oh, and I'm forced out because my weapon broke. I want to get him one more level up though, so I'll have to use Shaver a bit. We'll be getting a new Shaver tome kind of soon, if we didn't already. I kind of forgot which chest I've got so far, but anyway. Shaver with its high crit rate is pretty good for the arena. Now, I've been noticing that a lot of people in the comments were wondering that if the drill grounds exists, some people were even thinking that actual arenas have been removed. There was an arena back in Chapter 9, if you want to go and check those videos out, and you do win money from it. The only arena you don't win money in is the drill grounds. That's because, yeah, you're essentially paying money for the extra experience there. And there's no risk of characters dying. Technically speaking, characters can die in the drill grounds, but again, because there's no penalty for saving and restarting as much as you want there, it's really negligible. You can just save and then reset, and as much as you want. In the actual arenas, yeah, if someone dies, you gotta go back to your last save point. So that's a bit more painful. Anyway, though, yes, those actual in-chapter arenas, there was one back in Chapter 9, there was one in Chapter 15, the next one, I don't believe, isn't until Chapter 19, and, that may be the last. There aren't many actual arenas in this one. By the way, even the actual map arenas still use, the Days of Training battle theme as their, battle theme. Yeah, it's such a shame they didn't have a new remix for this game, because again, there are a lot of battle themes that really could have worked. But anyway, I think it's about time we started this chapter. Now, this conversation here is kind of interesting. Yes, there are thieves inside our fur castle. And apparently they have stolen the Geosphere because, well, we could have told if we looked at the map. Now, this conversation is kind of interesting. This line is totally different. In the original Mystery of the Emblem, there was a line there about not being able to use Pegasi or horses indoors. Because the dismounting system is now gone, that is, there's no need for that line anymore, so it was changed. Yeah, I am very, very glad that this dismounting system is gone, because that was really stupid. So yes, you obviously can use Take a Sign horses indoors now, so catching the thief is a lot easier. Oh, and there was also Massellin, who joined there, for great justice, just like Dolph. Now, here is the boss of this chapter. In an oddly silent cutscene, he is now informing you that if any chests in the treasury are open, the door of this area will open up, and that will apply even if an enemy thief grabs a treasure chest. So, yeah. Now, this trap kind of loses some of its impact when you already see him talking about it. Yeah, this isn't so much a hidden reinforcement trigger, well, it sort of is, but anyway. Attack when the chests are opened. Well, it's not like attack while the tail's up, but anyway. Now, I forgot to talk about Massellin, so here he is. Just like his inexplicably identical partner Dolph, Massellin has joined us for great justice! Now, the first thing you'll probably be noticing about Massellin is that his growths are amazing. Seriously, if this guy joined level 1 unpromoted, he'd have the potential to be one of the best armor knights in the entire series. And in fact, that's exactly how you get to use him in one of the bonus chapters. You get to use him unpromoted there, and he's pretty ridiculous, I'll tell you that. The problem is that now, well, yeah, he's a pre-promote, which kinda renders those growths a little bit less significant. And again, like all pre-promotes in this game, you got the problem of awful base stats. Although Massellin really has no excuse, because since he wasn't in the original game, really, he has no excuse for having base stats that are done as if things still count to 20, which they don't, so, no. Anyway. Then again though, Massellin's growths are so good, he can pretty much pick himself up from that bad start, and as you can see by those averages, if you want to pre-promote General, Massellin will end up the best out of all of them, which is kind of weird considering that back in Shadow Dragon, out of him and Dolph was clearly better than him and Massellin was kind of pathetic. Now it's pretty much the other way around. But, in fact, even Massellin has much better starting weapon ranks and bows, and he's of a lower level than Dolph. So really, there's no reason to use Dolph over this guy. The problem is there any reason to use this guy, period? That, yeah, there may not really be, because by this point, if you want a general, you will probably be using either Draug or Roger. Both of them are unpromoted, and both of them are available for much longer. Massellin is very, very good as far as pre-promotes go. It's just that, again, he has a bad start, and he might not be able to really get to his full potential. So, it's a little hard to use him, and he suffers from the problems that most pre-promotes in this game do. But, if you do use him, he'll actually turn out pretty good. It's just, it may be a little too late in the game to be thinking of adding a new member to your party at this point. So, yeah. But anyway, I mean, those growths are amazing, I can't fault him for that, and again, if he had joined at level 1 unpromoted, he probably would have been the best general in the series. But as it stands, Massellin is probably, in my opinion, one of the best, just statistically, pre-promotes in the game. Of course, Sirius has him beat in terms of just general utility, but in terms of statistically, Massellin is one of the best in the game. So, if you're doing like a pre-promotes only playthrough or something, which I probably plan to eventually, I would highly recommend this guy, but if not, it's better to use an unpromoted character or someone who joins a bit earlier. Sadly, Massellin is probably going to get benched, but he does have very nice starting items, which I'm going to swipe when I get the chance. But first, we've got to catch this thief. Yeah, you have to get to this guy quickly, because he'll attempt to flee the map, and if he flees the map with the Geosphere, you want to restart. Now that door there, you can open it on your own, but that's probably not advised. You also got to watch out for Astram there, but basically, once one of the chests is open, the door will automatically open the turn after that, and the enemies inside will all move out to get you. There's also a whole bunch of long-range tome bishops inside there, so you got to watch out for that, and they'll be hitting you the moment the door opens. So you want to keep your weaker characters away from the door where you think it's going to open. Like George here. Of course, George has to go up the other side just to recruit Astram. Make sure you don't go into Astram's range, because even though his stats are kind of pathetic at this point in the game, I mean, the Mercurius being the A-rank sword still hurts pretty badly. And if anything, you just don't want to waste uses of the Mercurius when you eventually get it. So you'll want to recruit this guy anyway, just for the sword he comes with. Kind of like George before him, in a way. Now, it's actually quite difficult to stop these thieves before they get to the chests, so you'll probably have the door ambush triggering a little earlier than you might like, so just bear that in mind. Yeah, I think he needs a new spell. Anyway, yes, it's quite difficult to stop these thieves, at least without running into Astram's range and probably killing him. Now, that Geosphere Thief is going down now. Again, in the original Mystery of the Emblem, it was a lot harder to get the Geosphere, because, again, due to the dismounting system, you couldn't use Pegasi, wyverns, or horses indoors, which meant you sort of had to send someone with boots after him. But anyway, we now get the Geosphere, and with that fancy fanfare again. Now, the Geosphere has a very interesting effect. What it does is, it raises the critical hit rate of yourself and all allies within 3 spaces by 10. That's actually pretty significant. If you combine that with a Swordmaster or a Sniper, you can reach crit rates almost up to 50% if you use killer weapons. In fact, 50% is about minimum. Also, now's a good time to break out the Sword Slayer, given that we'll be facing a lot of heroes. Just gotta be sure that Astram doesn't run into that, because that'll just tear his face right off. Anyway. I hope these other heroes, though, attack me. It's actually, though, I found it actually wasn't as useful as I thought it would be, mostly because, you'll see when it happens. But anyway, I actually have no idea why I set Martha and Merisu up there. I really should have had them stay back near the start, for reasons that will become obvious later. And Julian, of course, heads towards the chest, and Messalin tries to stay out of the way of most enemies. Good thing Var still has his bow equipped. And he doubles snipers, which is nice. Unfortunately, once enemies start getting faster, he's not going to be doubling as much. But anyway. And wow, you're an idiot. So, this is the thing. Even with the... Whoa, I didn't double. Wow, so even with the Sword Slayer, I'm still 2-hit KOing, and that's probably not entirely worth it. So, I should have put a better weapon on Narval, but anyway. That's probably not really worth it. It'll be more useful later on, once Ogma has enough strength to one-hit kill heroes and Swordmasters with it. But for the time being, I don't know, I mean... Even one round KO with doubling, that's still kind of not really all that useful. So, I prefer it if it's one-shotting things, kind of like Basts, Poleaxe and stuff. Now, if I play my cards right, I might be able to clear out all these heroes and get to Astram and recruit him this turn. And hopefully not get George killed doing so. So I've got to make use of long-range characters to finish off these guys. Please don't miss, please don't miss, please don't miss. There we go, didn't miss, that's good. It's not every day you see axe heroes as generic enemies. Anyway. Now I need to, now I can get to Astram actually. But I've got to make sure that George is blocked off and the enemies can't really attack him. I love that introduction. In fact, I will say that this whole conversation, I just love the way they've localized this, because they did a really good job here. Really good job. Apparently, in the original Mystery of the Emblem, he actually mentioned the boss of the previous chapter by name. Yes, I thought he was too generic to deserve mention. Despite his, hideousness. Anyway. In that case, then why are you, following her? Yeah, he's still stubbornly loyal to Princess Nina as normal, but of course, in this case, it means that, that's kind of bad for you. But, why couldn't you tell me so earlier? Because weirdly enough, you actually had George with you back in Chapter 9, so, I don't know, there's not much story reason why you couldn't recruit him back then, but, and again, playing the Midia card, of course, since you don't have her, if you had her, recruiting him would be a lot easier, but, anyway, so, Now then we get this line. They seem to be trying to turn heads will roll into Astram's catchphrase. But anyway, time to discuss Astram then. I have a feeling that Astram will make my head roll if I say bad things about him, but I'm going to take the risk anyway. Now, yeah, one thing I noticed about Astram when I was looking at the enemies at the start of this chapter in the preparations. On hard mode, Astram's generic hero troops have better stats than him. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all you need to know by this point. That really goes to show just how bad pre-promote bases are in this game compared to the original Mystery when everything capped at 20. So bases like this would have been very, very good back when, again, everything capped at 20. In fact, a lot of those stats are over 4 or 5 points off the max, which is pretty good. The only problem is, well, now they don't. And now, his averages look disappointingly low compared to people like Ogma or even Caesar. So, yeah, Astram is another one of those pre-promotes who suffers from the whole stats no longer cap at 20 thing, which makes his bases look really, really bad by comparison. I mean, his growths are good, his growths are pretty decent, although unfortunately his really high luck growth is kind of wasted because his base is so low, it generally doesn't end up that high. But, still, he does have a reasonably high defense base for a hero, but that's basically all he's got going for him. That and being able to use the Mercurius immediately, but by this point in the game, if you've been using any Swordmaster, they will most likely have an A rank in swords by now, and they would be a much better candidate for the Mercurius than he is. So that's not really that much of a thing. So, Astram, I can kind of describe him as sort of mediocre in a way. He's not, he's certainly not terrible, but he's not great either. So, pretty much just another average pre-promote, I guess. Oh dear. I now realise that giving George a weapon is probably a bad idea. Even with a crit, that was... I mean, I guess that was a joke weapon, but still, I mean... Just goes to show joke weapons are probably not that useful in anyone not named Mary Sue. Anyway, I was just looking at Astram's base stats there compared to Ogma's, and, well... it's kind of sad for the poor guy. Anyway, we want to get rid of every enemy who could feasibly attack George, because he might get doubled with his bases like this, so that could be a problem. Especially that guy. That guy, not good. Now, if I put, oh, wow, very nice, very nice. See what I tell you? Well, I mean, is Ogma the same level as Astram? He probably is, but, or one level higher, but still, his stats are massively better than him. Now, I need a crit here if I want to... There we go. Thank you for obliging. Okay, so if I take care of his one hero behind us, George should be safe. Then, I can safely just bench George for the rest of the chapter. Okay, this is going to be a little bit risky. But, I could use the bow and be much less risky. In fact, that's exactly enough to hit KO, in fact. And I'm... Oh, I guess I must be getting a support bonus from Ogma, that must be why my heat went up to 100. It was still pretty high anyway, but now that hero is gone, and George is safe, and, and I can safely bench him for the rest of the chapter now. Unfortunately, those thieves are getting really close to the chests. I will definitely be able to kill them before they escape the map with their treasure, but for the time being, we are actually going to have to deal with the gate, the door opening very soon. And because of that, I'm going to have Messelin run away, because he can't handle the swarm of reinforcements that it's going to be approaching. Yes, there are reinforcements in this chapter. And I'm going to send Martha and Mary Sue back to hold the door. Also Cantria, but, and Sheeta might want to go away, because she's not exactly the most durable. Okay, next turn, so the turn after this, door is going to open. And that thief just swiped a Master Seal, which we don't really need at this point, so... Because I've already promoted everyone I want to, but yeah. Well, that was the only item that got swiped. Now, at the end of this turn, the door is going to open, so now would be a good time to use that save point, I think. So, actually, the save point right here, not the one above the door. So, I'm going to use this save point, actually, right now, with someone who is going to be benched for the rest of the chapter. Well, at least you did something, George.